Hey y'all, it's Peggy with the Easy Binding Winder. I wanted to kind of recreate the demo that we do at quilt shows and market. And I also wanted to give you a few pointers on how to demo this in your shop. So what you get in the box is the base and tower unit. The base has 3 different insertion points. It has a tension bar under which the binding goes that helps keep it winding nice and neatly. You've got your clamp, you've got your handle or crank, and you've got your spool. The clamp has a rod that goes into the insertion point on the unit at the insertion point of your choice. It's got a jaw that goes up and down, and it's got a wedge here. So when you're clamping this to your ironing board, you want to put your thumb right here in this little indented area and just kind of squeeze up, push down on the wedge to hold it in place. If you find for some reason that you're not getting quite enough pressure doing it that way, you can turn this around. You can turn the wedge around, flip it upside down, and then squeeze and push up. That gives it a little bit more pressure. The challenge with that is you don't have as much room this way to attach it to some surface. So we're going to go ahead and put this back in the way it was designed to use. So when quilters are making their binding, when they're folding it and pressing it, they're doing it on an ironing board. This was designed to be clamped to an ironing board while they're making their binding. So insert this in the base, squeeze up, push down on the wedge to secure it, and you're ready to go. So when you're demoing this, you want to have some binding ready to go. Let your customers know that it doesn't need to be pressed yet. They just need to have their strips sewn together. So to start out, they want to press a section about a foot or so long. Take the end, slip it under the tension bar, and then it goes under this clip on the spool. It just slips right under there like that. Okay? And then it just drops right down in there. They need to leave a little tail. It's going to get folded in on itself as they wind it, but that's okay because that gets cut off at the end anyway after they put it on their quilt and they secure the ends together. So here's your crank. It just slips right in there like that, clicks into place. So they've pressed a section. They want to wind it up. You want to press another section and wind it up. So what you're going to do to use it is you're going to fold, press, and wind. Fold, press, and wind. And you just want to keep doing that. To release this, you're going to squeeze on your thumb tabs right here. Kind of push it back toward yourself. Squeeze the towers and slip out the crank. And then this just comes right out. Okay, so we recommend having a binding already wound up on a spool so they can see what they wind up with at the end, because they probably don't want to stand there while you press and fold and wind a whole binding. If you don't have an ironing board in your retail area of your shop, we recommend investing in just a little cheapo portable board like this. I think it was like $7 at Target or Walmart. That way you have something soft that your unit is going to be clamped to, because that's how they're going to use it at home. If you're going to clamp it to your cutting table, it's going to slide around as the crank is being wound. So if the cutting table is your only option, put something squishy under it. This is just a piece of the rubber shelf mat. You could use that. You could use some binding that's been folded up about the thickness of a hot pad. Something soft has to be under this unit for the clamp to grip onto. Okay, so that's really important when you're demoing. So again, we recommend having some already wound up so they can see what they're going to wind up with at the end. Let them know that when it's time to put it on their quilt, this just drops back down in there. If they've taken it out for whatever reason to store it or whatever, this just slips right back down in there. They take this, set it next to their sewing machine, and it just feeds right off of here, just as easy as can be. Okay? If you really have time and extra binding laying around or whatever, Show them what they're used to dealing with. Show them this big mess that they would normally have to wind up around their hand or on an empty paper roll or whatever their preferred method is. They don't have to deal with this anymore. It's nice and contained, it's nice and neat, and it's easy to use now. You've cut out frustration, you've saved them time because they don't have that extra step of winding. They're winding as they make it. Okay, so those are our tips. Remember that you have the spool packs. It's a great little sale. If you have quilters that go on, binding making marathons, they can buy the extra spools. They have their quilt bindings all made. Each one's on a spool. When they're ready to use it, slip it down in the tower. Tower sits next to their sewing machine. Does not need to be clamped down. It'll just sit right by the sewing machine and the binding will just feed right off of it as they're sewing. Okay, so I think that's it. If you have any questions, if there's anything we can do to help you, there's a contact form on our website at www.easybindingwinder.com. Let us know if you have any issues or any questions we can answer. We'll be glad to help. Thanks for watching, and remember, don't get your binding in a twist.